I just clicked the button to go live on a video. Actually, I cut out. Hi, I forgot which camera I was on. I cut out a piece of the video that I did, or the live stream that I did last night. And I took out a piece and I made a video out of it and just put my intro and my outro at the end, and I just went live. So I don't know if it's going to do any good or if it's not. I'm working on a video for the main channel, and I want to show the focus system on the Panasonic that we got right there. Let me clean up a few things over here. So, hi Scotty, before you say hello, I'm going to say hello. But what if it's not Scotty? Then I'll have to just rephrase what I just said. All right, so what's the difference between last night and tonight? I thought last night, it was just a little bit, a hair too bright. That was my interpretation. So today I took it down from ISO 500 to ISO 400. Not a big deal, right? Just 100 ISO. That's about the only place I can make a change. So that's why I just came to make sure all the lights were off and all the cameras were off and one of the cameras were on. So I figured, well, let's turn the other two on. Let's go live for 3 or 4 hours, okay? I mean, if I keep saying I'm going to go live for a few minutes, and it winds up being hours. So what's the definition of insanity is when you do the same thing over and over. And what's the other half? But you expect a different result, right? Well, then I had to change something. So I'm going to be on for hours tonight, hours and hours, which means it's going to be a short show, which is really what I want to begin with. I only want to see what the ISO 400 looks like instead of ISO 500. Kind of my thing, to check and see what's going on. So I'm working on making a autofocus video, but it's not going to be a, what do you call it? A conclusional, where I say this is right and this is wrong and this is a bad autofocus, you know. It's basically more in line with me just wanting to explain what I have found out about the autofocus. So this is poking me. So let's take the phone out of my pocket and put it over here. There we go. Ah, we're running even odds. We got a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Whoever put that thumbs down, you go in there and you change it. Change it right now, or God's gonna get you. It doesn't matter. If you want to put a thumbs down, help yourself. Any interaction that happens, YouTube sees it as an interaction, and it's actually a good thing. Might not sound like it, but it really is, okay? So YouTube is seeing it as 2 thumbs that were given. So, and that winds up making it, hey, Funny Fest is here. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Let me put you up on the screen so I can see you. There we go. We've got Funnel Fest. Funnel Fest. Funnel Fest. I was using a funnel today. So the name, I don't know, is stuck in my head. You ever buy that stuff at Publix? So I don't know where you are, but Publix is our grocery store. It's like a pump sprayer and a foamer, Clorox or Dawn or something, and then it empties out. And instead of throwing it away, you refill it. So that's what I use the funnel for. So good to see you in here. Eric, how you doing? How you doing, old man? How are you doing, old man? Are you feeling young or old tonight? Tell me what it's all about. What are you up to? What is happening in your life? I know you were taking a course. I know you were, that's all I know. I can't think of anything else that you said that you were doing. So I figured I'd come on for 6, 7, 8, 10 hours, 13 hours tonight, which means we'll be done in a half hour. So, but I am looking to see what the ISO 400 looks like compared to last night's live show. So last night, I really got on a roll. There's some very good chunks of information in the video from last night. So I took one little section from what I did last night, and I moved it over, and I put a beginning, an intro, and an ending, an outro. And I went through to catch any mistakes that I had made, because I did make some mistakes. I always make mistakes. Like I'm not going to tell you what my mistakes are, okay? So, does my hair look dry? It just came out of the shower. I used the hair dryer so that this way it would look dry and not come in here with a wet head. So, so two people last night made a comment on my shirt. Wasn't this one, okay? It's like, where's your red shirt? So, like, is this my new uniform for the Christmas room? Is the shirt that well liked? Golly gee whiz, Batman. So Carlos came in and he made a sentence or two. Missed your show last night, Peter. I had my first Tillamook ice cream experience yesterday. Did you like it? Did you really like it? What flavor did you have? Because I haven't tried them all, obviously, and I stopped because I don't do ice cream. But Tillamook is one of the better end ice creams. And the only way I found it was I was trying to learn how to make keto ice cream. So I accidentally forgot to put the word keto, best ice cream recipe kind of thing. And it said the 5 best ice creams in the United States. And I'm going, okay, I might know a thing or two about ice cream. Just a little bit, bum, bum, bum. Just a little bit, bum, bum, bum. Okay, so I looked at it, and Tillamook was in second place. And I'm going like, I never heard of them before. What's up with that? Geez. So Haagen-Dazs was in third place. So I figured, wait, I do know Haagen-Dazs, and I do like Haagen-Dazs a lot. Okay, it's very creamy. There's a debate if the ice cream that's in the grocery store that's Haagen-Dazs versus the ice cream that's in a Haagen-Dazs store is the same. Or is the quality level of the ice cream that's in their ice cream stores, because Haagen-Dazs has ice cream stores, do they actually reserve or have a little better recipe for that? So I never came up with a conclusion. I do know I like to mix my ice creams. So I would actually, I'm not on the rotating cameras, but I don't know if I turn them all on. Let's turn on the rotating cameras. Okay, we'll go from red to black. So black means, where's my snapper? There, this one's snapping better than this one. You guys, does your left hand snap as well as your right hand? Or you got two different snapping tones and volumes? Now it's switched. This one is now quieter, this one's louder. And I'm doing this on live television, global, coast to coast and around the world, shore to shore, coast to coast and around the world. And I'm snapping my fingers. Did anybody ever say I was good at this? So we're running at ISO 400, and you can compare it with last night's show. So Carlos is here. Hi, Carlos. Hi, Meg. How you guys doing? Did you make it home? Or are you done with the faddling that happens at the new place? And now you're home and relaxing. So what time is it? It's 11. So 3 hours before, it's 8:11. So you could still be working. It's a possibility, because if anyone works long hours and hard, it's Carlos, okay? Okay, Eric says, I'm doing good. I just got back from a 600-mile road trip to pick up my brother from camp. We went to the Lagoon Amusement Park up in northern Utah and rode some roller coasters. Is that how you spell rode, or is that the microphone? Yeah, I think you're right. Rode some roller coasters. You spelled it right. My mind was thinking too much. So, what camp was your brother at? Was it like a summer camp, a Christian camp? Is he like a younger brother, a teenager, or an older brother? When you say camp, I used to enjoy the summer camps. They were wonderful. They were fantastic. So now that you brought it up, so then if you took him to an amusement park, he's a younger brother, okay? Up in northern Utah. That's Mormon country, northern, I think all of Utah. Salt Lake City, and that's where the Mormon Tabernacle. What is wrong with my mouth? You'd swear I'd been drinking. What's in this water? Tastes like gin. No, it tastes like water. So we went to the Lagoon Amusement Park in northern Utah and rode some roller coasters. I can't do roller coasters anymore. I got this I used to be no problem. Fly around. I went to the top of both of the Twin Towers before they were attacked and destroyed. One has a restaurant on the top, and the other one had I'm going to call it a museum, but more like an art center. And I went to the top of the Empire State Building, and yes, I spit, but I do know that your spit doesn't hit anybody. By the time it's less than halfway down, it's completely dried out. So it's not like somebody's walking along and going like, dang, what was that? Somebody spit on me. Who spit on me? This is New York. You don't spit on me and get away with it. No, no, no. So tell me about your trip, Eric. I want to know. There's nobody in here. So I recently bought a camera. I recently bought camera glasses to do some roller coaster point of view videos. Did not have time to try them out. So you went to a roller coaster with an objective and you didn't do it. Welcome to Earth, right? So how old is your brother? Was it like a new experience? Trying to get my hip bone off of this sidearm. Was it a new experience for him? Was it exciting, or it was like a repeat, but it was still fun? So I guess his age will tell me. Now, if he's 35 years old, okay, you guys still had a good time. And honestly, good for you. You know, people don't stop. What is the saying? They don't stop to smell the roses these days. They are just so caught up and involved in what they're doing. I think I'm beginning to sound like Frasier, right? I'm listening. Oh, wrong camera. I'm listening. Frasier didn't have to deal with a camera. It was a radio station that he worked at. So anyway, I just took a shower and my hair, it's got to be dry by now, although it does look a little frizzy, a little bit frizzy. Sometimes if you just tap it, it works. Sometimes it doesn't. So my brother is 30. He attended a special needs camp. That's cool. I hope he had a really good time. I hope he was looking forward to it because it's a way to get out, right? Number one. And everybody likes to get out. I'm just readjusting the pillows. I sat in a way where my hip bone is pushing up right up against the wood of the chair. And I got hurt today, but not there. Okay. So Funnel Fest says A6700 versus FX30. Well, you're going to be surprised at my answer. Okay. And it's because of price. So it's $1,500 versus either $1,800 or $1,900. Honestly, you should get this camera right here. You should bypass the FX30. You should bypass the 6700. The FX30 would be a better choice because, you know what? They have actually taken the time to train us to get accustomed to overheating cameras. I'm not used to that. I mean, I started with film cameras, and my film cameras never overheated, okay? So to start with that. Then when we went into digital, hi David, I see you. Hi Charles, I see you. Um, so you know, the D30 and the D60, and then you had the 20D, no, 10D, 20D, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, right? It stopped at 90D. We didn't have overheating. Seriously. And I shot weddings. I'm in Florida, right? And I just saw Charles. Charles is in Florida. Hi, David. David is in California and is hot as Hades over there. So we got, you know, heat. And now they got us, well, which camera overheats less? I've actually seen YouTubers where, you know, they go, the overheating is not a problem at all. So like I said, they have trained us to accept overheating. Okay, now they've had enough time to do like what the FX30 did. They have a built-in fan. This camera has a built-in fan. So for $2,000 versus $1,900, I would go with the one with the full frame. This camera is going to be there to meet you every step along the way. So the camera came in, and I had a little bit of buyer's remorse. Like I bought the camera, and it's like, oh no, what did I do? Okay. And then the good news is it flipped. So I no longer have that buyer's remorse, which is a good thing, honest to God. Okay. So let's get back up because we got some people coming in here. Golly gee whiz, Batman, for our just got out of the shower and I'm going to come on and see what I look like show. We got peoples. So Eric took his brother and then took him. Boy, what a good brother you are, Eric. Damn, that's awesome. So Funnel Fest A6700 versus FX30. Okay, so here's the question. What you gonna do with the camera? It's kind of unfair to ask me what camera do I buy if I don't know what you're gonna do with the camera, okay? So they're both good cameras. And I would actually home in on what's your priority. Like if overheating is your priority, then the FX30. But if you want a camera for pictures and a viewfinder and, you know, a little more all-around camera, then the 6700. But if you're up in the $1,400 to $1,800 range, this is the camera you should buy, honestly. The ease of use of it approaches the Canon because the Canon is one of the easiest cameras to use, whether you like Canon or not. It just happens to be one of the easiest cameras to use. Oh, and Charles first. Hi, Charles. Good to see you. I love you, Charles. And he's saying FX30. I would have a tendency to agree with the FX30. However, there is a couple of more contenders out there, okay? And I'm going to be doing Charles's work for a second here, which is, it's almost laughable because Charles, all he talks about is Fuji, and now I'm going to bring up the Fuji. So the model X S20 seems to be not such a bad camera. And it has a screw-on attachment for a fan. So that kind of, you can have a fan with you so that if you actually run into an overheating situation, because you might not. Some people might not have an overheating situation. But if you're going to walk around in the Florida sun, the Texas sun, David is in here, in the California sun, and your camera's going to go, Shazam, see you later, I'm going to take a nap, you don't do nothing for at least a half hour. You know, now imagine if you had people that were depending on you and your camera just overheated. So the Fuji X S20 has a optional, you pay extra for it on that one, fan. And when you open the back of the LCD screen like this, okay, there's that nice big back area. Well, they've designed a screw-on attachment that's a fan. and that is to keep your camera cool. Cool, right? So the heat is rising more to the top more often, and it's becoming acceptable, and I don't want that to happen. I really don't. So they've taken the cameras and they have pushed them to be really, really high end. Even a cheap camera is high end now. So the penalty or the handicap for that is there's so much stuff running inside that camera that it gets hot. And then they don't want it to burn some, but they don't want lawsuits. Let's just go to the bottom, okay? So they're putting things to time it out, to temperature it out. And so they've removed the 30-minute time limit, but they've added it back in another way, okay? So you actually are stuck with an overheating camera. So in my shopping endeavor, I wanted a camera where I'm not going to be playing with that overheating all the time, because that's kind of like ridiculous. And then on the other hand, I want a lighter, smaller camera. So how do you get all that in one camera? Well, that's where the FX30 comes in. It's a smaller but not lighter camera. Okay, the 6700 is smaller, but because it's smaller, it's going to be a little bit more susceptible to heat. And when I say heat, you know what I'm really saying? It's susceptible to shutting down. When they overheat, they shut down. So this is not me making a nicer word out of overheating. The camera shuts down. You can't use it when it overheats. So that's a little bit of an annoyance, all right? And the little bit of an annoyance has become a big annoyance. So like Funnel Fest just said, 6700 or FX30. Well, they made the 6700. That would be the camera I would choose, okay, honestly. But they don't have any cooling system, or like the Fuji, you can't even buy a cooling attachment for the camera. And that is poor, okay, because I'm not willing to accept overheating. Now, let's say something positive for the A6700. The camera is very small, and if you put it together with a 15 millimeter Sony lens, you've got probably one of the lightest setups you can do and you can have to do vlogging or just to fling a camera around. So everything is right, except they should have done some kind of a heat exchange, even if it was passive, not even operated with the battery. So the 6700, I believe, let me think. There's so many cameras. It's kind of hard to remember what is what. So I believe it uses the big battery from the Sony lineup. So it's all good, except, you know what you could do? You can go to Gerald Undone. Overheating is so prevalent now that it's a part of his videos. He will have a section telling you this and a section telling you that. And now he's added a section where he times out the overheating. That wasn't there before. And I can't remember ever talking this much about overheating before. Okay? So it is a thing. So I was more likely to ignore it. That's the way I was rolling. I'm just going to ignore it. It's out there. I don't see anybody really complaining like crazy. But I have seen now, lately, in the last month, I have seen cell phones where they're recording cutting the grass with these sit-down mowers and stand-on mowers. And I kind of like watching that stuff, okay? And his phone overheated. This is a phone, okay? So the camera nowadays should have like a really large fan that barely turns, okay? Kind of like a blower motor fan, not a blade. It can be a blade. Doesn't even spin up even that much at all, but enough to get heat dissipated. And then there should be a piece of the camera, and I would think the top plate. That would be my guess, the top plate. Okay, that it would dissipate the heat. So now we've got some active cooling activity going on in these cameras. So to come out with a Canon R6 or a Fuji, not the Fuji, I'm sorry, the Sony A7 Mark IV, and for people to be talking about overheating here, overheating there, the sun is so hot. Well, yeah, the sun is hot every summer, okay? Just, you know, like I said last night in my show, when I was 15 years old, I had to go cut the grass, and it was so hot, I thought I was going to faint. Well, here we are 60 years later, okay? It's the same SHIT, different day, okay? So, David is here. Peter, yay, how are you tonight? I'm fine, David. How are you? Good to see you here. I love you. I love everybody. I love Eric. I have been to a lot of parks and ride the coasters. Lagoon was the first time my brother had ridden any roller coaster, and he loved it. I was just going to ask, if he's a special needs, did it frighten him? Because that would be one of my first concerns, is we might be able to handle it, and we don't put our abilities on another person, especially if there's special needs. But if he loved it, I am so happy, because now you got something you could do with him, and that's really special. So thumbs up for you. Thumbs up. That's one for Eric. So David says, David is 365 days of streaming. In this case, which camera would be the best live streaming out in the world, in the wild? So I was thinking about the other day. If I was, oh, you didn't say vlogging. I almost put words in your mouth. The best camera for live streaming is different from vlogging. So if you want to correct yourself, do it, but it'll be a few minutes before I get to it. So make sure when you correct yourself, and if you add, don't just say the word vlog. Say best camera for vlogging, or best camera for live streaming, not vlogging. In other words, give me some context so I don't look stupid, or I don't have to fake it and act like I know what I'm talking about. So if you're responding to something that I'm talking about, please put some context in there so I can kind of try to remember what we were talking about. Okay, so for live streaming, I think the best all-around camera is the one that'll be coming up in a few seconds, which will be the Panasonic S5 Mark II. Now, the reason I could say that so confidently is because I bought it not handling it, which is unusual for me. And then when it came in, I said, I made a mistake. That's this guy right here. I made a mistake. I'm not sure if I should return the camera or not. I like Panasonics. My heart likes Panasonics. They're very easy to use, kind of like the Canon experience, where you pick them up and they're putty in your hands right off the bat. Very, very easy to use. Okay? So that's the bad news. The good news is that was the lowest point of the ownership experience of this Panasonic S5. Every day it got better. And then on 1 or 2 days, it did take a backward step until I finally got to understand what they were thinking when they designed the camera to do this or to do that. Now, that doesn't mean I agree with every little thing that they've done. God, no, okay? If we ever had a camera like that, you'd call that a miracle, okay? So, however, I've had the Sony A7 IV. I've had the R6, the R7 Mark II. No, I'm sorry, the R6, the R6 Mark II. I have the Nikon Z6, and Randy has the Z6 II and the Z7 II. And Sly likes very light cameras, so she's in the M6 Mark II. So I have a lot of hands-on with a lot of different cameras, and I have a lot of living through the eyes of the other person, in which I know the other person. It's not like a YouTuber that I'm watching. And I'd have to say, this guy right here is the best buy going. So for in the studio or for any kind of live streaming, this camera is it. Okay. So now this camera that we're watching right now, it's got to be what, 4 years, maybe 5 years old? So 3 years for the 2000s. And if it came out in 2018, that's 5 years old. Yet it still holds its own, still does really good with the focusing. So that is quite unusual. But like I said, this camera came in as a iffy, almost I'm sorry, and then the pricing being $19.99, and I got this for $17.67, an open box special, which they seem to be getting at ADORAMA, and they seem to be getting it at B&H. So the camera is too new to be damaged. So an open box or a demo or even used from ADORAMA or B&H, basically it's a camera that went out as a loaner and came back. Okay, so I got this camera for $17.67. I can't think of another camera that would be better than this camera. So rather than me singing the praises of this one, how about if I tell you what's wrong with it? Okay, so this way you get a good taste, because everybody's going to be telling you how wonderful it is. Some people will pick on things, but I find them to be, they don't know the camera well enough, and they don't quite understand it well enough to figure out what is going on, okay? And because once you know what's going on, you can override most of it. So what you can't override, so before I launch into that, let me say hi to Daniel. Hi, Danny. If your budget is capped at $1,400 price point and don't need high frame rates, I'd go with the R7 over the A6700. Okay, well they're basically fairly equal with each other. Okay, so you're actually talking personal preference. You're talking the system, because if you bought the R7, I love the R7, and I got a feeling I would love the A6700 also. But you did say a magic number, and that's $1,400. So before I spent $1,400 on the R7 or on the 6700, I'd be on the lookout for the full frame R6 from Canon. They had them at $12.99 on Canon refurbished, and they sold out. Bam! Because for $1,300, that was the price that the 90D came out at. I mean, it's a steal of a camera at $1,300. So if you're a good lurker in terms of shopping, that's where I'd go. Okay. So between the R7 and the 6700, I would say it's a draw. Now look and see what lenses you can put on the camera, and don't skip that part. Don't go to I like this camera, ring it up. Don't skip the lenses, okay? Because Canon actually said something to us. And what they said is, we're going to be the only people that we're going to allow to make lenses for our cameras, RF cameras, meaning Sigma, Tamron, Viltrox, who else? Artisan, the TT Artisans, Lens Babies. Other people that make lenses are not going to be able to participate because Canon has taken them to court and scared everybody off. So nobody's going to invest a fortune to create lenses where Canon's going to scare them off. So based on that, Sony hasn't done that. So you could buy a lot of Sigma lenses for the A6700, and some of them are half the price of the Sony lens. So if you're going to buy a camera, and the saying that I like to say is, you're going to marry the lenses. You're going to marry the lenses and the system, and you're only going to date the camera, because you might date another body. You might buy the A6700 today and buy some lenses and then decide, the overheating thing is an issue. I'm going to go with the FX30. Well, the lenses stay. The camera body goes. It's kind of like a girlfriend. When it's over, it's over. But the lenses stay. Okay? So based on looking at the lens system and not the camera, because I think the camera, the R7 and the 6700 are comparable, but Canon is going to restrict you to, they're going to choose what lens you could buy, and they're going to choose what lens they're going to make. There's no other outside options. And they can't even make an adapter, because the adapter would still have to read the electronics, and Canon purposely nailed down the electronics. So this is going to either wind up being Canon's demise, or it's going to blow over, and it won't really mean a whole lot. So I usually have an opinion, but I think enough people have their eyes open enough where it might actually hurt them, because you've already got a YouTuber, content creator, pointing this out to you. You've got two really good cameras, and I would be willing to, if it wasn't for that, I'd be willing to say you would be just as happy with the R7 as you would be with the Sony A6700. They're both excellent cameras. They both have their strengths. They both have a weakness here or there, okay? But you couldn't go wrong with either camera. Now, enter the fact that I happen to like some Sigma lenses, specific ones, okay? And Sigma has been locked out from making a lens for the Canon RF mount. That's the name of the mount that the lenses come in for the Canon cameras. So you could go around it by buying the adapter and then buying a Sigma EF mount, which is the lenses that we've known for the last 50, 70 years, okay, and put that, but now you've got to deal with the adapter, okay, and there's the people like me that say the adapters are just about seamless, but what if they're not, okay, or what if Canon does something because they've already taken lens companies to court and won, okay, so if Canon is going to do that kind of shenanigans, who's to say they won't continue? Because it's obvious that they are protecting the bottom dollar. They're making lenses. Why should Sigma come in and steal their thunder? That's what they're thinking, okay? But their thunder is my benefit, okay? I could buy a Tamron lens, and I actually have a 17 to 28 2.8 millimeter lens, full frame, that is so light, and it would go on the A6700 beautifully. So I'd like you to look at the lens system before you would choose between an R7 or any Canon camera and the Sony 6700. Okay, that was one of the reasons. Not a major, it's not a main reason, but it's very convenient for me to slip it in, right? Okay. Well, on this one, you've got 3 or 4 companies making lenses for here. You've got adapters already for this camera, and it'll take vintage lenses with no focusing in it at all. It'll take Canon lenses and fully focus on them absolutely beautifully. I will be able to be testing a Nikon adapter in a day or two because Charles is sending me one. Thank you, Charles. So the system is much more open. And I think that is a factor. So back to Daniel. I'm sorry I called you Danny. I was just getting real friendly there for a second. So if you don't like that, you can correct me. And I won't do it again, or I'll try not to, because I don't like it when people call me Pete or Petey. It's like that's one of the things that your parents train you when you're a child. Don't call him that. His name is Peter. Well, it's stuck. Okay. Now I'm an adult and I go like, oh, it's Peter, and I don't go off the deep end, if somebody says Petey or Pete, but it's not being friendly to me. Okay. But they don't know that. So Eric says, I find it quite weird that roller coasters settles my brother, and it bothers your stomach. Well, when someone is a special needs, the body and the brain and the thinking processes overcomes that area where we would call it special needs, okay? But they overcome it or work on overcoming it, and sometimes they get different sensations than we do. Like a roller coaster would scare the shit out of me, honest to God, and it's not something I would want to go on. And yet, you've got your brother, it settles him, and he loved it. So I was going to try to explain it, but why bother? Because I really can't. I'm not in the body of a special needs person. I have enough trouble in this body. Okay? So the happy thing is, Eric, that you found something that is very good for your brother. And I bet that makes you, even though you might not, because we're guys and we're macho, you just probably love it that you found something to please the guy. Okay? Because we go on vacation, but he doesn't. He's got to stay with his special needs 24/7 for his entire life. Okay? So anything that anyone can do to make it better for them, I think it's a heroic thing to do. So Final Fest says mainly for videos and codecs, any budget capped at $1,800. Okay, so the open box used ones are the Panasonic. I'm going to put that in, and it's not because I'm a fanboy. It's because it's really that much better. It really is. So is it giving me a better picture or not? We can argue about that all night long, okay? Will it take me into anamorphic lenses? This camera will. Almost none of the other cameras that we have actually talked about tonight will do that. Will they record RAW? This camera will. Oh, you've got to buy the X model, okay? It's just got so much good stuff in there. Does it have a full-size HDMI plug? Because if you're going to be plugging in a Ninja, or you're going to live stream like I'm doing here, and then you're going to take the camera out and take it to the roller coaster like Eric said. Okay, well, you're going to unplug and plug, unplug and plug. And the little ones, the HDMI plugs, they break. That's a $350 repair. This one's got the full size. So this camera is there to meet you at whatever your level is. The other ones, they're not bad, but there's a ceiling that's much lower. So if the ceiling on here is way up, then the ceiling on here is way down, okay? I mean, the ceiling on the others are way down. So, Daniel, so I didn't read the other half of your sentence. So let's pat Daniel on the back and read the other half of his sentence. If your budget is crapped out at $1,400, if it's capped at $1,400 and don't need high frame rates, I'd go with the R7 over this A6700. And there's nothing wrong with that because the camera's a good camera. I had it here. I actually bought it. And the only reason I returned it is I wanted to move over to full frame, and I got a deal of a deal. And so I returned the R7 and got the R6. And I was very happy, extremely happy. But then I did get the R6 at a good price. And now the R6 is at an even better price. Okay. So, Oh, I was up to 1,800 on my budget. So you could get you can get this camera at under your $1,800 price budget. So let's say, Peter, I don't want you to pick the S5 anymore. I want you to pick another camera. Okay? I'm tired of hearing you talk about the S5 Mark II. I want to hear about another camera. Okay? Okay. So videos and codecs is what he's focusing on. Well, the king of the hill for videos and codecs, well, let's just say codecs, okay, not videos, is the RX30, and it's got a fan built in. All right, so it actually is right up there. Now you take that sensor out and make it a more well-rounded camera, but drop the fan and drop the very intense focus on videos and make it so it does great on the videos. It's the A6700. It does great on the videos, and I think it's $14.95 if I'm not mistaken. $14.99. Can't lose that extra dollar. Okay. So Danny says if your budget is limited to 14, I would get the R7 over the 6700 personally, even though the R7 doesn't have 4K 120 frames per second. Well, you can get around that. You have to change your shooting mentality, okay? But your 60p can look as good as your 120p and actually better if you shoot 60p. And then whatever your main timeline is, if it's a 24p, which it's really frames per second, it's not the p. P is out the window. Nobody shoots I anymore. So that's what the P is. Progressive. I is for interlaced. Okay. So that's the terminology that we've gotten used to talking. Yak, 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 yak. We say 24p, 30p. It's not. It's 30 frames per second. It's 24 frames per second, and so on and so forth. Okay. So if you learn to use a 24 frames per second timeline, which is what you're looking at right now. This whole show, the whole shebang, every camera that's running in here, we're all set to 24 frames per second. The computer is set for because it's all being recorded into the computer, and then it's all being streamed and uploaded live to, what's their names? YouTube? At 24 frames per second. It is all at 4K though. I do like 4K, but that's a personal thing. Just like what Daniel is talking about is a personal thing, okay? And that's why he's adding, personally, this is what I would choose. So David says, your hair is looking great. You know, I'm debating about whether to go for a haircut or not, but now it's just at the length where when I was a teenager, we didn't have the short hair when I was a teenager. It was the long down your back, long down to your shoulders hair when I was a teenager. It was like hair, long, beautiful hair, bop, bop, bop. Okay, that song. Okay, so all the bands, the Almond Brother band and all of those guys, everybody was long hair. So I feel much more comfortable in long hair. Okay, plus my hair is starting to thin out, so while I can grow it, dang, I'm going to let it grow, okay? So what I do need is a special attention from someone like David to actually style it and make me look really good, because right now I'm doing my own haircuts. Do I know anything about haircuts? No. I know that I use this trimmer setting. I use the Flowbee. I use this little plastic setting for the sides and this one for the top. Okay, and then they have an angle one that's like that, and that one I go right around, and then I take the trimmer that I had for Jingles, which is a battery trimmer, and I clean up my neck and bring the sideburns so they're over here. That's as much as I know about cutting hair. Now David, he's a professional. He cuts hair for famous people, okay, and so does Steven. So one's on the East Coast, one's on the West Coast. So thank you for noticing my hair, David. That was excellent. I would buy the S5, the Mark II X first, hands down. But if your budget is stretched at $1,800. Okay, so the X. I have a line that I use. Why do you want the X? Is it because you're going to shoot RAW? Or you're going to be shooting ProRes RAW? You're going to be eating up, not cards, you're going to be eating up hard drives. Now, there's people that actually can handle that. And they'll go out and buy 10 hard drives, SSDs, from Newegg. And that's fine. But I can't go buy 10 SSDs from Newegg. So when I looked at it, I'm going, am I going to ever shoot RAW? No. Am I going to shoot ProRes? RAW? or even the 444 ProRes? No, I'm not. Okay? What would I use? What would I actually use ProRes for? If they allowed me to shoot in ProRes proxy. Proxy is like 3 steps higher than H.264 and only 1 step higher than H.265. So, but if you shoot if you shoot LT, ProRes LT, which is a good one, okay, and that's what I use when I'm using the Ninja 5. I will shoot ProRes LT, but the files are big, okay, and I've got 3 SSD drives just for the Ninja 5, and it really fills them up. Now, if you're saying you like the blacked out version, okay, that's your problem. You could go on the couch with Carlos and tell him all about the fact that you want a blacked out camera. That is personal taste. Boxers or briefs, okay? And I'm not going to tell you if I'm wearing boxers or briefs. And you don't tell me if you like the blacked out version or not. But I hope you're not choosing the camera for that. However, other side, okay, got to always do the yin and the yang. If they start having the X's and they have the open box, which means that they've been loaning them out and they're finally starting to come back to Adorama, the loans, and back to B&H, so they don't sell them as brand new cameras. So a $2,200 camera might come down to $19.99. In that case, you might have a good buy on your hands. Okay. See the problem that we're actually running into? Well, the problem that we're running into is we have so many good cameras that we're actually arguing about which of the good cameras will we choose. Where if I blindly handed you any one of them, any one of us would probably be satisfied. Unless you're making movies for the theater, okay? In that case, you would have a little bit different needs. But we're in the YouTube world. Welcome. This is my world. It's YouTube content creation. And now that's expanding because you've got Rumble. You've got Twitter, which looks like they're going to be expanding Twitter to make it to be more competitive with YouTube. So they're going to give you part of the advertisements. You're going to be able to put up full-length videos. And this will probably happen in stages, okay? I wish it was overnight, because I'd like to have another platform other than this, because if YouTube gets a hair up their nose, okay, they could screw you over really bad, and you're powerless. It's like the ant fighting the elephant, okay? Okay. So Funnel Fest said I would have said the FX30. In fact, I did. However, the more looking into it, not as easy a decision as I thought, okay? So when someone makes a really quick decision, usually they haven't thought it through that much, because the A6700 is the updated version of the A6600. Okay, so now the A6600, very similar. You don't have people out there bitching and moaning about overheating and this and that, but do they? They probably do. But now we're focusing in on the overheating on the A6700. But the A6700 has got some features in it that makes it look quite delicious, okay? Before the road trip, I bought a new tire, and I think they broke my driver's seat power adjustment. They did the same thing for mine, too. You know, there's buttons, and the buttons are in the hole. So I had to take it apart, and there's a little plastic clip. That means somebody went, bam, or put their elbow on it and smashed it. So now I have to stretch my leg to reach the pedals and pulled my leg muscles. Oh, come on, Eric. Take whatever it is and open it and bring the seat to your liking and leave it broken. But you drive that car every day. Make it conform to your body, to your butt. Make it fit your butt, okay? Okay, so Carla says, I love the AI and the ZVE1. ZVE1, another, I'm sorry. Excellent camera, especially the follow the focus feature. Okay, so What Carlos is talking about is because it could take advantage of, it's a full frame camera, the E1 from Sony, $2,200. So sometimes it's better to tell you the price so you know which camera I'm actually talking about. Okay, so it has a feature. Okay, so you take the full frame. So let's see, can I, all right, this is bigger, but it's going to leave. Okay, but I'll try to explain it. All right, so I can actually zoom the frame in smaller, like let's say like this. And then I can move my head over here or over here. And it actually takes the smaller frame and it follows me. So I can and walk and talk to you and act like I'm pondering and act like I'm very intelligent and just walk and pace. And it looks like I have a cameraman following me back and forth. But I don't. What it does is it took the full frame and it cropped it down. Okay. And it's now functioning on the crop down, but it's going to keep the ratio that you picked of the frame, and it's going to use the eye tracking or the face tracking or the body tracking and move the whole frame left and right. Really, really cool stuff. But all that comes at the expense of heat. So I would really like it if they had made this E1 and the 6700 with a snap-on fan that you could snap on. Now, that means you have to open the LCD, but at least you can have a fan that's blowing on the back, and they could have designed the inside of the camera. So it's especially like a heat sink, okay? So you buy the extra fan, knowing them it'd be $200, and nothing is cheap with the big companies. But you snap it on, screw it in, okay? That E1, I would have to say, is probably the best camera to purchase as any kind of a content creator that is out there. Anything to do with online video, whatever platform you're actually on, the E1 is best. But the overheating is just a tad too much on that. It's actually quite restricted. Okay. So, yes, Carlos has made a wise decision. Now, if you could get a fan and have it blow on it all the time, it probably is fine. But you take it out in the Miami heat, Houston, where there's a video on YouTube of this lady that baked a loaf of bread outside in her mailbox. That's how hot it is. She baked a loaf of bread outside in her mailbox. Hello? Are you getting the implications of what I'm saying? Okay. So the heating, it matters, okay? Like size matters, heating matters. So, but it is a good camera. I looked at that so hard. I was trying to justify so hard. But when you're going to spend $2,200, and it's liable to overheat easily. And on that camera, you have to add the word easily, okay? So it's not like the 6700, all right, where it's more reluctant to overheat. It overheats more easier, okay? So Charles says definitely the Fuji XX. Wait. I didn't even get a chance to read it. Hold on. The S20 is currently the best choice, but between the two Sony cameras or FX30, the FX30 is way better. Now that's a big sentence coming from Charles, because he is a Fuji man. Okay, so Ray is in the house. Peter, daily streaming again. Let's see, PDS. It sounds like I have a stutter and I can't say PDF. Peter, daily streaming. PDSA. Oh, PDSA. That's better. Okay. It's time to go streaming to rehab. I'm just trying to give you a hard time, Peter. I know it. You just feel better when you got a friend that came in to see you, because you don't go out. Okay. So I got to come in. So I came to see you. How are you doing? It's good to see you, Ray. Ray, you got me to the point where I'm drinking. You do that to me. I love you, Ray. All the teasing. means that I love you. Eric, thank you. I would like some feedback on the S5 Mark II. So if you're kind of like one of those armchair quarterbacks, now's the time to do it. Okay, because most of the time people that are live streaming and everybody's got an opinion. Well, I want the opinions. I want to know how this camera compares with the Panasonic S5 II. I just sold the R6, which is what gave the money to buy the S52. So the Z6 is over here. It stayed. The R6 got sold. And now we got the S52. So do I want to hear what you think? Yeah, I do. Hello? You have a hard time with your hearing? But make sure you say, pertaining to the S52, I like it better, I like it worse, I like the colors, it's too bright, it's too dark. Don't just say it's too bright, because then I'm going to have to fake it and act like I know what you're talking about when I can't figure it out, okay? So make your comments in context. And that's only to help me. It's not because I'm being mean or anything. It's just that if I get around to your question 30 minutes later, I don't remember how I even started this show tonight. Honest to God. Okay, so thank you, Eric, for saying that you like the S52. Mark is here. Hi, Mark. I love you, buddy. I had a gig taking engagement photos yesterday. I injured my Achilles. Oh, in the process. I guess that's part of the game. Oh, you'd be surprised what parts of your body you can hurt. Oh, my God. It's like I would come back with a hurt ear, with a hurt elbow, a hurt hip and knees. Because many times you go down and you crash land on your knee. And then if you try to get up and you fall, guess what you land on? You, instead of being smart and just landing on your ASS, you try to circumvent the fall and you wind up hitting your hip bone. So photographers, there's no other breed like them, honestly. This is a good camera. For $698, this is a good camera. And it's being fed a good lens. It's being fed a $2,000 lens. So it responds to a good lens. So I've got the Carl Zeiss 50 millimeter 1.4 at f1.4. So, yup, and it brings me a very nice picture. Now, the first night that I used this, I took off the Nikon ZFC and I put this. The picture was terrible. And I'm going like, wait a minute. This camera is supposed to give me a really good picture. What's going on? So I have the Carl Zeiss 1.4 lens here at 1.4. So that's a high-end lens. Now, a medium high-end lens is the same camera, okay? But let's go over here, okay? If I can aim. Pop, pop, pop. Okay, so this is the same brand, all right? This one is the white one. I have a white one and a black one, E10. Now, what lens do I have on here? I have the Sigma Art lens on here, the 35 millimeter 1.4 Art lens. It's a pricey, well, it's not pricey. It's not like the Sony prices, okay? But it would be like probably $800-900. Somebody can fact check me if you want. Go to ADORAMA and put whatever this lens is. It's the Sigma 35 millimeter 1.4. I believe it's the Art lens, and it is set to 1.4. So it too is actually performing nicely. So that's the one thing I noticed with the E10s, and actually most Sonys. The Sonys react to, like, the better you feed them, the stronger they get. So the better the lens you put on to your Sony, the better the output that you're going to get. Okay, so let's go back to the rotating, guys. So put your leg up, keep it on ice for a little bit, Mark. If it's that bad, put it on ice. If not, then your body, you're just going to baby it along. So I'm sorry to hear that. You think the pictures came out okay, though? You think you did a good job? David says, you answered my question. I really appreciate it. David, for you, seriously, I would give you almost any shirt off my back and not this one. I get a lot of compliments on this shirt. So that's why I put it on. Now, if I wear this shirt all the time, it's going to become the Christmas room shirt. And it can because it's red. I'd like to find this the same rich color in like, what is that green that's like a very Christmas green? Is it called Kelly green, maybe? But there's like a Christmas green that's so beautiful. And it's a little showy, so you don't get to see those shirts that often. So David says, you answered my question. I really appreciate it. About the best living streaming camera. Thank you, David. Put it in context. Oh God, David, I could kiss you. Okay, I need it for walking around town, not indoors. Really, long length streams my entire day, live for 6 to 11 hours. Okay, now you've really homed it in a lot. Okay, which I'm very grateful for, because you've knocked out a lot of cameras that are not capable to living up to you walking around out in the heat. So my question becomes, look at the weight. So the one of the best cameras that you can get is the A6700, okay? And if you like Canon, let's say you're partial to Canon, the R7, because you could put a 16 millimeter lens on the Canon. You could put a 15 millimeter lens, and they're both light lenses, physically light, okay? So it makes them light. Now, I would say you would need a camera that can handle heat. So, okay, all of a sudden, we've got some limitations put on us. So what cameras can you list that can handle heat? All right, so this one right here has got a built-in fan. So what you need to do is get a piece of paper, or if you're a computer person, open up a notepad and make yourself some columns, okay? So one of the columns is, what does it do for heat? Or let's put it this way, does it have a fan in it? Okay, that column needs to say yes. Okay, then the next thing, does it have a wide lens so that I can get out and do my live streaming? Well, for this one, they have an 18 millimeter 1.5 lens. Wrong. They have an 18 millimeter 1.8 lens. Okay. And Sigma, which is part of the L-mount consortium, makes a 16 to 28 millimeter f2.8 lens. That would be just as good. Okay. Now, here's going to be one of the kickers. The next line needs to say weight. And you need to know the weight of each camera you're going to consider. This is not only for David. This is for every single person that's going to be a content creator, and you're going to do walkabouts with your camera. Not necessarily aimed at your face, but you're going to go out there and walk with the camera a lot. Okay, so in that case, you need to pay attention to the line that says weight. Okay, then the lens that you would use for your particular situation, and write down the lens. If you want, you could put the price with it. Also, you could put the price for each of the cameras. And then the next one under lens would be, again, the weight of the lens. Okay? So all of that becomes pretty important. So, hi, Roy. How you doing? He's saying, good day, Peter. And David is saying hi to Roy, and Roy is saying hi to David. Gregory says it's really a shame because I liked Canon cameras, but now Canon is not an option for me anymore because of the third-party lens. Some people wouldn't feel like that. I do, and you do. Okay, because it becomes quite important, because after you're in a system for a while, you've got specific lenses for specific purposes. So if you're going to walk around the block, you're going to go, oh, I don't have to think about it. I'm going to take that lens. Well, they might not make that lens on the Canon. So for me, it shows me a little bit. You know how you get to see the a revealing factor of a person, or in this case, the revealing factor of a company's thinking. Okay, so that kind of revealed their thinking, and it didn't set well with me, honestly. I'm just being honest. Okay, you could blow that off completely and say, I don't care. They make just the lenses I want. One and done. Now you could buy any Canon lens, any Canon camera you want. Okay, the Canon does make a good camera though. It's very, very hard to make or find a very, or even a little bad camera out today. Roy is talking to Gregory. Scotty, you finally made it in. What woke you up, buddy? What's up, dude? What's up with you? So we got a bit of a show going on tonight. Okay, so it's unexpected, but is it a fluke, or are people just bored on Monday nights late? If I started this at 9, would it have been a full house? So anyway, Scott, thank you for being here. You know I love you. Roy, hope everything is cool. Everything's doing good with you. I don't mean cool in temperature. You're in your winter, so that was kind of like a pun, but I didn't mean it. There's nothing worse than going to plug in an HDMI cable and someone shrunk the plug. Or it broke. Like Randy bought an A10, and I think in the first week, the HDMI plug broke. And he said, the heck with it. I don't think he even bothered to get it fixed. So that's a shame. Because he does do stuff inside the house. Roy says, we update cameras, but glasses forever. I would pick a camera based on lenses first. So you basically agree with me, the genius. Yeah. Roy, you're so cool. I like the Sigma 2470-2.8 better than the Canon EF 2470-2.8. Well, if you're talking about the original one, not the Mark II, the Sigma wipes the floor with the Canon. And what I mean is the Canon is a piece of junk. That specific lens. They tried to make a good lens, okay, but they shot themselves in the foot. All right? That I could give you a really good explanation, but the EF 24 to 70 2.8 stinks. And you'd very rarely actually hear me say something that strong. I had to move, and this was in the height of my wedding work, out of the 2470 because the 2470 2.8 lens from Canon, are you kidding me? That is the creme de la creme for weddings, okay? Or one of them. And I had to move out of a 2.8 into an f4 because forget it. And then it took them way too long to bring back the 24 to 70. They didn't want to admit their mistake. Mark II. And when they did, they climbed right back at the top of the heap again. So Funny says, I looked at the R7 and it's nice, just not for me. And that's the way to do it, honestly. In fact, it looks better many times straight out of the camera than the Sony. Yes, it does. Now, I'm not going to tell you the answer, but can you tell me why? Okay? Because when you can tell me why it looks better, okay, well, I will tell you why. I shouldn't do that to you guys. It's because Sony is going for accuracy in the clinical look, and Canon, no. Canon, it focuses heavily on skin. That is one, believe it or not, something nobody ever talks about, okay? And that is they don't have a skin smoothing or anything in here to help you with your skin, which is a shame, okay? The new Z8 from Nikon $4,000 camera. And they thought it was necessary enough for them to put 3 different levels of skin control in that. Do you know what that tells me? Most of the pictures are being taken of things that have skin in it. Okay? Panasonic should have realized that. So now I am saying something, but only because I'm venting. It wouldn't make me not buy the camera. Because I spent a lot of time really fine-tuning the camera, not just to get everything straight, but look at the quality of the skin. I have done things to this camera to squeeze. You know how you get and squeeze every last drop that I could think of to put and pull the best skin quality. So on a firmware update on this camera, there's some things they can't update, like the 60 frames per second. It's always going to be a crop factor at 4K, not at 1080, but at 4K. Okay, that's a hardware confinement. All right, but there is some things that this camera desperately needs. And when I say desperately, it's like it's critical that it be on this camera, and one of them is a clarity slider and a smoothing for the skin control, whatever they design. Okay, so the ironic thing is they already have a little bit of it in there. Okay, so it's not like, oh, we have to rewrite the entire firmware just to appease Peter Gregg. No, I'm already making use of what you got in there, Panasonic. Hello? So if they actually focused on that, it would make a difference. Okay, so let's get going because I do have to go to bed, not at 3 in the morning. Scotty says I paid $1,600 for an R6 controller ring adapter plus 5% off with the ADORAMA Synchrony card. So yeah, it's important that you shop the R6 for price, because if you can get it under the price of the FX30, this guy, the A6700, you got a former flagship camera at your disposal, which is quite a coup. Okay, it's quite a thing to pull off. I think the R7 has a little battery. I don't think so. I don't think it has. Now, you could fact check me on that, Scotty. Okay, I think it's got the same size as what's in your R6. And the way you do that is go to ADORAMA or B&H, pull up the camera, go to where it says specs, and all the way at the bottom, it tells you which battery it takes. Usually it does, okay? And if it doesn't, just Google it. What battery does the Canon R7 take? And they'll tell you. ENL, whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. So Roy is talking to Scotty. Scotty says the R6 and better have acceptable batteries. Batteries do play a big part of the camera experience. I have hair just like that, but not on my head. Now, here's a good example of Roy not telling me what the hell he's talking about. So, you have hair on your head? Oh, you have hair like that, but not on your head. Well, that's funny all by itself. But was I talking about hair? I must have been. Okay, so Funny says, unlike many, I have never been the biggest fan of Canon colors. They got their naysayers. You know, when I do a video on Canon, they'll come in just to blast the camera. They feel it's their duty. Scott says, "Let it grow." Isn't that a Disney cartoon song? Yes. Let it grow, let it grow. You're right. Roy is talking to Funnel Fest, and Funnel Fest is saying SSDs are getting real cheap nowadays. So there's a link in the description to an SSD that was on sale the last few days. It might have left. But you got a link to Newegg that gives me a commission. Ain't that cool? So if you're going to buy something on Newegg, come in here, click on that link to Newegg, and then buy whatever you want. You don't have to buy that item. that little cookie thing they put in your computer will last, I think, for 24, either 18 or 24 hours. So if you buy socks, I would get credit for it. So that's good. Good, 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 good. SSDs are great for editing on, but the old mechanical hard drives are cheaper and more reliable for long-term storage, especially in a NAS box. I think I would take issue with you, Roy. I don't take issue with you on the price, okay? But I don't think the spin-up drives are more reliable. I think it's more reliable when I have no moving parts. And I feel that all the spinning drives that I have in my Drobo NAS machine, I would like to change those to SSD. But the cost would be too high. But the good thing is the Drobo spins them down. And therefore they're not on and spinning day in and day out. Yes, I would be very happy with any of them. So many good cameras. That's what I'm trying to say. If I could speak straight and not speak like Jerry Lewis. Unless I'm working, I'm happy to play with any camera. When working, I need to know the one that I know backwards. And that's why you guys make fun of me, because I said something funny like, I take the camera to bed with me. That's where I get intimate. Now you can make fun of me that I said that. But I get to learn the ins and outs. I have taken at least 100,000 pictures of my toes. Okay? But I do get to know the camera in and out. I think Tim Burton created The Nightmare Before Christmas using an early Canon DSLR. He might have been. More metal in the camera body and a fan would be less necessary. Oh, more metal in the camera body, comma, and a fan would be less necessary. And I think Roy is saying that because it will dissipate the heat. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Pop, 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 pop. So Roy is giving me a slew of comments, which I'm going to have to go over most of them because I'm looking to sign off. Aaron, hey, I saw you today, Aaron. Boy, you look good. Did you maintain your weight, lose weight, and have you been tanning? Your face was tanned. You looked very luxurious. I don't know what the right word is. Handsome to start with, okay? So you looked handsome, but your skin was gorgeous. I like to go with gorgeous skin, and I'm more sensitive to skin because, why? Because of my age. There's old age spots. Can you see them? Okay. So with a skin smoothing or clarity slider, or both, I can manipulate the camera into giving me a good, clean skin. Roy says, and for long streams, the camera might need at least a battery grip and probably more. They make the external ones, which you could use on yours, on your Z8, because you got two USBs. So you can get one of those external battery, what do they call them? External battery boxes, okay, and be anywhere in the world and plug it into your Z8 and it'll power it, as long as that stays charged up. Alrighty. So Roy is saying it's cold over there. That's right. Solomon 321 enjoying the show. Just received my S5 Mark II a couple of weeks ago, upgraded from my 90D. Really love the S5 too. Thanks for streaming. Learning a lot. I'm about to embark. They'll be mixed, okay, Solomon. It'll be mixed. But I'm about to embark on showing just how to work the S5 II that I haven't found easily elsewhere, okay? So I'm in disagreement with a lot of the stuff on the focusing system. So the right thing to do is say, prove it. Why do you think your way is better, okay? Well, I'm not saying my way is better. I think I found what they were thinking when they designed it. Now, could I have designed it better? Yes. Hello? Because now that I know the tools that are in the camera that I actually have to use, they're scattered. They need to be in one place because they're all pertaining to the autofocus. Okay? So I will be making videos on that. It'll be on the big channel, okay, which is just Peter Gregg. So you could find that channel by looking underneath this video and looking at for hashtag Peter Gregg. I think it's hashtag, right? Or looking in the description for @Peter Gregg, because this is @Peter Gregg Live. It's a different channel. Okay. Good to know somebody else that's got the same camera I got. Good, 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 good. Okay. The Nikon Z8 and Z9. 8.3K makes big files, but at least it's not MJPEG. Boy, isn't that a mouthful. For it to be MJPEG would have been, oh my God. I think the whole world would have piled in on them, okay? Even if film days, or even in film days, Canon has great skin tones. Okay, I believe you. I'm kind of skimming. Roy says, I go through a boot SSD each year from failure. Boy, you're the first person I know that does that. Wow, what's in your water? If I come over to your house, don't offer me a glass of water. But seriously, you're the only person that I know that has ever said that. Because I feel that the SSD is so much more solid. I lost over 100 pounds at the supermarket, but my wife found me again. Power bank. Ding, ding, ding. Roy gets it. All right, boys and girls. Thank you for being in here, for being with me. I love each and every one of you. This was an impromptu. It was Monday Night Football, but no football. So this was just Monday night, okay? Monday night. We need a name for Monday night. Then we're going to need one for Tuesday, if I go live for Tuesday. All right, there we go. Thank you. Love you. Catch you later. Bye.